Discover the incredible life-changing struggles of Victorian bakers, hidden stories revealed. In the quaint town of Willow Creek, underneath a canopy of leafy trees, Ellie Thompson woke to the sound of her son, Ethan, bolting out of bed. Today, just like every morning, smelled of freshly baked bread, cinnamon, and the warmth of home. Her modest bakery, Thompson's Treats, was more than just a business, it was a sanctuary of love and resilience, passed down through generations. The oven beckoned her like a trusted friend, offering a comforting embrace amid life's chaos, yet, there was tension brewing beneath the surface. A brand new bakery had popped up across the street, owned by Claude Harrington, a man whose wealth dripped from his every word and action. His display windows shone like jewels in the sun, showcasing decadent pastries, styled for Instagram rather than taste. Each day, Ellie watched as crowds flocked to Harrington's polished facade, a painful reminder of the divide between their worlds. Her heart raced as she recalled her grandmother's stories about starting from scratch. Ellie's blood ran thick with perseverance, but the mounting bills and Harrington's snickers threatened to sour that sweet legacy. "We can't keep going like this, Ellie," her husband's voice echoed in her mind, filled with worry, tired of fighting to keep their dream alive. Each argument felt like a blown soufflé, collapsing under the weight of expectations, while Ethan, caught in the crossfire, withdrew into silence. Before she could lose herself entirely in despair, a tragic twist disrupted her routine. A careless misstep in the kitchen one morning ignited flames that devoured her beloved bakery. As smoke clawed up into the sky, the emotional knots in Ellie's heart tightened. Neighbors gathered, faces drawn in horror, realizing that Thompson's Treats wasn't merely a bakery, it was a piece of their community, a staple, a family. "I don't need your charity," Ellie cried, her voice quaking as she faced the well-meaning townsfolk who offered support. The shame of relying on others burned almost as fiercely as the fire that had consumed her bakery. Yet, the glimmer of hope flickered in the crowd's sympathetic eyes. They saw her, not just as a baker, but as a lifeblood of Willow Creek. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the community gathered at the town hall, Ellie sensed a shift in the air. Tensions clung like the scent of yeast rising, fragile yet full of potential. Ideas buzzed around the room, voices rising and falling, fueled by determination to rise from the ashes. "We can bring back the heart of Willow Creek," someone said, and the sentiment electrified the collective spirit. Ellie stood on the precipice, her identity tied to a legacy she once thought was unbreakable. The rumors, the judgments, and her own self-doubt loomed larger than the flames that had scorched her shop. Would she emerge from this devastation stronger? Or would she let the weight of expectation drown the spark within her? The kitchen may have burned down, but she could still taste the dough rising, sweet and hopeful. As smiles began to return to faces, she wondered, could they unite once more to rebuild not just a bakery, but the very spirit of a community? The town hall was alive with voices, a symphony of hope and determination. Ellie felt the energy wash over her, wrapping her in a warm embrace. Each person had a story, an experience tied to Thompson's Treats, and it sparked something deep within her. Slowly, she straightened her back and took a deep breath. "Maybe we can," she heard herself say out loud, her voice shaky but resolute. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned toward her. The buzz of the crowd faded, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat. "I mean it. We can't let this be the end. My grandmother taught me that bread isn't just food, it's life, it's connection." Ellie's words began to flow, fueled by the emotion swirling inside her. "We can gather our strengths, pool our resources, and make something even more beautiful than what we had before. We could have a community space, a place to share not only our baked goods but our stories." As she spoke, She noticed nods of agreement sparking in the crowd. She continued, feeling the fire within grow brighter. Let us create a bakery that reflects every one of us. A place where everyone feels welcomed, not just those who can afford a fancy pastry. The atmosphere inside the hall shifted from despair to possibility. Murmurs of encouragement began to ripple throughout the crowd. Yes. We can do this, shouted a voice from the back. Ellie recognized it as Mrs. Simmons, a longtime supporter of her bakery. Yes, echoed another. Each cheer fueled Ellie's spirit further, the weight of her fears lifting as the town came alive with support. New ideas floated like flour in the air: bake sales, fundraisers, community gatherings. For the first time since the fire, laughter mingled with plans for a brighter future, reshaping the loss into a canvas for creation. Suddenly, a silence fell, heavy and palpable. Claude Harrington stood at the back, arms crossed, a smirk plastered on his face. The air turned thick with tension as he casually remarked, "You really think a dilapidated community bakery could compete with my sleek operation? It's cute, but it's a foolish dream." Ellie's heart sank, but she felt a subtle spark of defiance ignite within her. Instead of folding beneath his words, she rose taller. What's cute is having a brand that can't connect to the people whose lives you're pretending to improve. Our community is worth more than your glossy exterior. We can reimagine our heart and spirit. Gasps and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd again. Claude's expression shifted, confusion flickering across his face. This wasn't the response he had anticipated. The meeting continued, fueled by Ellie's newfound resolve. As the night wore on, they pooled together ideas, funds, and resources. Each member of the community filled a role, like ingredients coming together to create a dough that would rise stronger than ever. But amid this hope, Ellie still felt that sting of fear. Could they really do this? Would they be able to overcome the polished facade of Harrington's bakery, not just in competition but in the hearts of the people? As the meeting broke up, she lingered, staring out the window at the flickering candlelight reflecting off the glass of Harrington's bakery. Determination swirled inside her, mingling with doubt. Was she the heart and soul they believed she could be? Tomorrow, she whispered to herself, we start fresh. Tomorrow, we find out what community truly means. Just as she turned to leave, she felt a presence beside her, a gentle nudge of her shoulder. It was Ethan, his eyes wide. Are we really going to open a new bakery, Mom? Ellie knelt down and wrapped her arms around him. Yes, my love. We will. And it's going to be special. But you have to promise me something. Anything. He replied, a grin breaking out on his face. You have to believe in it too and in us. His nod was fierce, full of promise. The evening ended, but the weight of a new beginning lingered in the air. Ellie walked home with renewed hope, her steps lighter than before. Inside, however, a tremor of uncertainty coursed through her veins. What would it take for them to truly rebuild? Would the community stand strong against the polished facade next door? And most importantly, could she find the strength to lead them on this journey? As she lay in bed, sleep slipping away, a thought raced through her mind: would they really be able to reclaim their heart, or would it remain forever lost? The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting golden beams across Ellie's room. She stretched, feeling the warmth seep into her skin, ushering in a new day. Today felt different. The weight of yesterday's fears lingered but didn't suffocate her. Hope thrummed quietly in her chest as she scrambled to get ready. Ethan buzzed with excitement as he helped Ellie pack up ingredients. Flour dust danced through the air, mixing with the sweet smell of cinnamon she had unexpectedly decided to bake. Can we make cookies too, Mom? The ones with the chocolate chips? His eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, and Ellie couldn't help but smile. Absolutely. We'll get that recipe down. As they prepared their makeshift baking station in the old community center, reminders of the town hall meeting from the night before echoed in Ellie's mind. The energy that filled the room remained electric, and as she looked around, she saw familiar faces. Mrs. Simmons was already measuring flour, while Mr. Wright chatted on the phone, arranging donations for ingredients. The camaraderie sparked something deeper in Ellie. They were a team, a swirl of voices and ideas merging into one heartbeat. "All right, everyone," she called out. "Let us gather around for our first community bake-off practice. More than just cookies, we're baking our dreams here." The group chuckled, and laughter broke like bubbles rising in hot sugar syrup. It felt like a ritual in the making. Together, they began mixing, kneading, and chatting. Ellie felt her fears bubbling up only to burst into small bursts of laughter as the community shared memories of Thompson's treats. "You know," Mrs. Simmons said, flour dusting her cheeks, "I remember the first time I walked into that bakery. I was a nervous wreck, newly moved to Thompson. Your grandmother welcomed me with a piece of her cherry pie. It made me feel at home." Ellie glanced up, feeling a lump rise in her throat. That pie had been legendary, a piece of history that linked every customer, every baker. Ethan raised his hand, wanting to add something. "And she told me that everyone's stories are what makes each recipe special." "That's right." Ellie beamed at him. "It's all about the connection we share." Suddenly, a familiar jarring presence broke through the joy. Claude sauntered in, hands tucked into his expensive coat. "How adorable. Aren't you all just a bunch of idealists? Good luck trying to attract customers with community spirit against my trending brand." The mockery in his tone stung like cold ice water. Ellie took a deep breath, refusing to crumble under the weight of his words. She stepped forward, meeting his gaze. "You misunderstand us, Claude. We're not just gathering to compete. We're here to bring our community together. That's something your fancy brand will never understand." He scoffed, but Ellie noticed the twitch at the corner of his mouth, the uncertainty flickering in his eyes. A swell of courage rose within her, fueled by the support surrounding her. As he turned to leave, she added, "It's easy to sell pastries, but it's not so easy to sell love and connection. That's where real value lies." Claude paused, and Ellie caught a glimpse of something else on his face, perhaps confusion, perhaps curiosity. Then he walked out, leaving behind an air tinged with both tension and inspiration. "Let us show him what we can truly do," Ellie said, looking at her community, their eyes reflective of her dreams. As they continued to bake, laughter and sweet smells filled the air. It felt like the spirit of Thompson's treats was rising anew. As the day turned into night, Ellie stood back, observing the piles of deliciousness they had created together. All their aspirations rested in those baked goods, a tangible representation of their collective love and commitment. And yet, beneath the joy, a question stirred deep within Ellie. What if their dreams weren't enough? What if the fight against the cold glare of commercial success was tougher than they could anticipate? Ellie shook her head, pushing away the darkness. "Tomorrow is another day," she whispered. "Tomorrow, we take our stand." But that evening, as they packed up and headed home, the weight of uncertainty sent a shiver through her. Would they truly find a way to shine amidst the shadows? The following morning greeted Ellie with a heaviness in her chest, an echo of the doubts she had battled the night before. She could smell the faint remnants of cinnamon from yesterday's baking session and wondered if it would be enough to sustain her resolve. But as she brewed a cup of coffee, Ethan's joyful voice broke through her thoughts. "Can we make the cookies first today, Mom? Please." His excitement was contagious. Ellie smiled, her heart lifted just a bit. "Of course, buddy. You're in charge of the chocolate chips." They hurried through breakfast, laughter weaving through their words. Ethan's enthusiasm felt like a light pushing back against the shadows gathering in Ellie's mind. As they prepared to head back to the community center, she could feel her nervous energy boiling under the surface. They were facing a challenge, one that felt bigger than cookies and cream. When they arrived, the air buzzed with anticipation. More community members had shown up for the baking session, sharing their own stories and skills. The faces of friends and neighbors filled the room, radiating warmth and determination. "Good morning, everyone," Ellie called out, her voice ringing with a newfound steadiness. Today, we're putting our dreams into batter. Let us show Claude and everyone else what true community baking means. The reaction was immediate. People cheered, fists raised in the air, and Ellie felt ignited by their passion. In the midst of the flour and laughter, Ellie noticed Mrs. Simmons gathering everyone around her. "I have something to share," she said, a glint of determination in her eyes. "Not just about baking but about us." Ellie leaned in, curious. Mrs. Simmons continued, "When I first came here, I had nothing. No job, no friends, just my daughter and me. It was a terrifying time. But those pastries, those momentary joys Ellie's grandmother created, made everything feel possible." A hush fell over the crowd, each person reflecting on their own struggles and triumphs. Ellie felt a lump creeping into her throat once more, but this time it was accompanied by pride. They all had stories that were woven into the fabric of the community, stories that mattered. And then Claude walked in. The energy shifted, and conversation stilled as he strode through the doorway, his presence darkening the space like a looming cloud. He looked around, disdain flickering across his face. "Still playing house, I see," he said, feigning a yawn. "This is hardly competition for real bakeries." Ellie stepped forward, heart pounding but steady. "Claude, we're not trying to compete with you. We're building something genuine, grounded in love and connection." The room held its breath, waiting. "Love doesn't sell cookies," he shot back, but even as he spoke, Ellie saw the bored mask he wore crack slightly. "Maybe," she replied, her voice firm. "But love brings customers. It brings a community. That is something you can't manufacture." There was a shift in the energy. The room filled with quiet nods as Mrs. Simmons chimed in, "These aren't just cookies. They're reminders that we belong here, together." Ellie could sense Claude's confidence faltering, his tightly wound demeanor loosening just a bit. She wondered if he saw what she saw, a community ready to rise, armed with flour and dreams, but just as that flicker of hope ignited, another thought crept into Ellie's mind: would they be enough to withstand Claude's looming shadow? As they resumed their baking, the chatter and laughter resumed, but Ellie felt a knot tightening in her stomach. The stakes were rising, not just in baking but in everything they had worked for. Tomorrow was the bake-off, the moment of truth. And she knew now, they had to stand strong or risk losing everything. Would her community rise to the occasion, or would it all crumble like a poorly baked soufflé? As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Ellie gathered the last of the supplies. The gentle hum of the mixer filled the room, but her mind was racing. Tomorrow's bake-off wasn't just about cookies, it was a chance for everything they had been working toward. The community's heartbeat was at stake. Ethan stood on a stool, arms crossed, as he focused intently on a mixing bowl filled with dough. "Mom, what if we don't win?" he asked, his small brows furrowed in contemplation. Ellie paused, looking into his innocent eyes. "Winning isn't everything, Ethan. It's about showing everyone what we can do together. Our community is what matters most," she replied, willing her own worries aside. His face brightened. "Then we'll show them how much fun we had, right?" "Exactly." Ellie grinned, feeling a spark of warmth spread through her chest. His buoyant hope pushed back against her doubts. They shoved spoonfuls of dough into cookie sheets, and laughter echoed in the kitchen like a melody. It was hard to remember any darkness with that kind of joy floating around. When they finally finished, the aroma of freshly baked cookies filled the house, a reminder of comfort and home. They set the cookies on the cooling rack and sat at the kitchen table, crumbs dusting Ethan's hands. "Do you think Claude will be grumpy tomorrow?" Ethan asked, taking another cookie and munching it happily. "Maybe," Ellie replied, "but we can only control how we respond. We'll show everyone that kindness and hard work matter more than anything." Ethan nodded seriously, his mouth full of cookie. "Then can we win, Mom? Please?" She chuckled softly, realizing how much that little voice mattered. "Winning or losing, we're a team, and that's what makes it special." An hour later, with the kitchen finally quieting, Ellie found herself alone with her thoughts. She stared at the cookies, sweet and straight from the oven, and felt the weight of tomorrow creeping back in. Would the community truly stand united against Claude's relentless criticism? Just then, the phone buzzed, pulling her out of her reverie. It was a message from Mrs. Simmons, inviting everyone to meet early the next day for a little pep talk before the bake-off. Ellie's heart raced with the sudden reality that tomorrow was coming fast. She typed back a quick reply, knowing that this could be a chance to bolster their spirits as a team. The night dragged on, thoughts of the bake-off twirled in her mind, anxiety creeping back like a shadow. She kept revisiting Claude's face, the derision in his comments, and she wondered if she had been too bold in standing up to him. As she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her heartbeat echoed louder than ever. No matter how hard she tried to silence her doubts, they swirled in her thoughts. What if they didn't succeed? What if Claude's words rang true? Then, the more daunting question arose: if they failed to rise together, what would that mean for their community? She had fought for this moment, but would it all lead to disappointment? As sleep finally began to pull her under, she knew one thing: tomorrow would either build them up or tear them down, and they would face whatever came together. The bake-off approached, and Ellie felt the stirring of hope edge against fear. She closed her eyes and whispered a silent prayer, hoping it would be enough, but as the night deepened, sleep drifted further away, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something life-changing. What would happen when the sun rose and the bake-off began? Would they carve their place, or would Claude's shadow eclipse everything they hoped to change? The first light of dawn spilled through the kitchen window, casting a soft glow on the empty countertop strewn with cooling racks and cookie sheets. Ellie's eyes fluttered open as the realness of the day hit her like a wave. She checked the clock, her heart racing. There was no time to waste. Ethan's sleepy voice called from the hallway, "Mom. Are we going to win?" His small figure appeared, tousled hair and bright eyes full of excitement. "Let's make sure we do our best first," Ellie replied, ruffling his hair. "We've got a big day ahead." After a quick breakfast, they hurriedly donned their matching aprons, the ones with cheerful, flower-dusted daisies that always made them laugh. Together, they loaded the car with their carefully packed boxes of cookies. The town square was a buzz of activity, filled with laughter and ingredients piled high. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and the sweet scent of baked goods wafted through the air, mingling with the chatter. Ellie's heart filled with a mixture of pride and anxiety. Mrs. Simmons was already gathering her fellow bakers with her signature voice that commanded attention. "Team! Listen up!" she exclaimed, an eager smile framing her face. "This is about more than just cookies." The crowd murmured in agreement, eyes glinting with determination. "Today, we stand together. We show Claude he can't strike us down. We're stronger as one." Ellie felt the warmth of support flow through her. She could see the other bakers nodding, echoing that shared belief. "Come on," she whispered to Ethan, nudging him forward. "Let us go find a good spot." As they set up their table, Ethan eyed the other contestants, his energy bubbling over. "Are we really going to beat them, Mom?" he asked, glancing at people with professional-looking displays. Ellie took a breath. "We are going to show them our heart." However, she couldn't shake the thought: could their kitchen magic hold up against bigger teams with more experience? When the clock struck 9, the bake-off officially began. The first few rounds were all about sharing stories behind each baked good and tasting. Ellie was doing just fine until she caught sight of Claude in the corner, standing with his arms crossed, eyeing everything with that familiar disdain. Her stomach twisted. "Mom, look!" He's making a face. Ethan giggled, pointing discreetly. "Focus on us, buddy," Ellie urged, trying to ignore the fire igniting within her. But as they offered their cookies to the judges, Ellie felt herself grow more confident. The first smile from a judge ignited something within her, a flicker of hope. She caught Mrs. Simmons throwing thumbs up from across the table. As the rounds continued, laughter bubbled between them. Ethan danced on his feet, recounting stories behind their creations, stirring smiles around. With every bite, people's joy seemed to build, but Claude still loomed like a thundercloud in the backdrop. Just when Ellie thought they might have a chance, she heard Claude snicker from a distance. "What do you get when you mix mediocre with decent? A big fat nothing." His voice sliced through the cheers like a knife. Ellie's heart plummeted. She watched as a few heads turned toward her table, uncertainty written in their eyes. "Mom, what does that mean?" Ethan asked, his exuberance deflating. "Nothing, sweetheart. Ignore him. Just focus on the good," Ellie whispered back, but her voice trembled. Then something surprising happened. A little girl from the audience stepped forward, her hands full of cookie pieces. "I love your cookies," she shouted, lifting her arms high in the air, as if to declare to the world that Ellie's cookies were special. Ellie's heart swelled. Maybe, just maybe, this was bigger than winning or losing. It was about their community coming together. But as she turned to see Claude's expression twist darker, she realized not everyone shared that sentiment. Would their community rally behind them, or would Claude's harshness prevail? The stakes were higher than ever as the judges neared their final decision. As the clock ticked down, Ellie feared that tomorrow's truth might hinge on the outcome of this very moment. What if their hopes hinged on the judgment of one man? Ellie took a deep breath, grounding herself in the present. Claude's oppressive presence clung to the air, but she focused on Ethan, whose bright eyes sparkled with innocent belief. "Hey, buddy, remember what Mrs. Simmons said? We're stronger together," she said, squeezing his hand. He nodded, determination flashing across his small face. Just then, Mrs. Simmons approached, her warm smile cutting through the tension. "You two are incredible," she said, glancing at their table filled with an array of cookies decorated with careful attention. "Tell me again about your favorites." Ethan's face lit up. "This one is Mom's special chocolate chip recipe. We added a pinch of cinnamon." Mrs. Simmons leaned in, each word dripping with encouragement. "That's fantastic. I can't wait to taste it." Ellie felt a jolt of renewed hope. The community spirit twinkled in the surrounding faces, igniting something deep within her. Each smile from a neighbor banished the darkness Claude tried to cast. The sound of laughter and light-hearted stories filled her with warmth. "Next up, let us keep this energy going," a judge called, snapping her focus back. Each team stepped up, presenting their hard work. The judges tasted, nodded, and jotted down notes. As they watched, Ellie whispered, "No matter what happens, Ethan, we did this together." Ethan grinned wide, his tiny chest puffing with pride. "Yeah, we're a team." Just then, the judge sampling their cookies stopped, lingering a moment longer than usual. "Oh, wow. I've never tasted anything quite like this." Ellie held her breath as the judge's smile widened. Mrs. Simmons shot Ellie a beaming smile, her eyes filled with pride. For a moment, Ellie felt like they were floating, their little slice of heaven prepared with love and care, but the moment shattered when she caught a second glance at Claude. He was now speaking to a small group, conspiring against them. "You think that's good? They live in a fantasy," he said, loud enough for others to hear. "Just watch, they'll be out in the next round." Ellie's heart sank again, but something inside her pushed back. "No more," she muttered, feeling a fire ignite within. It was time to stand up, not just for herself, but for Ethan and everyone who believed in them. "Hey!" she called out, catching Claude's attention. "Why don't you share with us what you think is fantasy, Claude? I'd love to know what cookies you think are better." Ethan's eyes widened in surprise, while a few spectators around them gasped. Ellie's heart raced, she had stepped into uncharted waters. What if this backfired? Claude's smug smile faltered for just a second, uncertainty flickering across his face, but then it transformed into a frown. "You really think you can take this? Just because you put some sprinkles on top?" Ellie sensed her voice shaking but pressed on. It's not just about sprinkles, it's about heart, love, and community. If you can't appreciate that, maybe you're the one redefining what's real. Gasps rippled through the crowd, the tension palpable. They looked from Ellie to Claude and back again, the scales tipping in an unexpected direction. Ethan's hand tightened around hers, his confidence returning. "Yeah, you don't have to be mean," he shouted, his small voice rising above the adults. Claude glared but said nothing, and for a moment, Ellie felt the weight of the crowd's support pressing toward her. Would this confrontation finally rally the community behind her? Or would Claude's dark shadow swell back stronger as the final judging began? With the last round drawing near, Ellie felt a shift in the atmosphere. She had spoken her truth, but would it be enough to tip the scales in their favor? As the judges prepared for their final decision, Ellie held her breath, waiting for the result that could change everything. The tension in the air thickened as the final judging approached. Ellie could almost hear her heart beating in sync with the buzz of the crowd. She glanced around, trying to catch the eyes of the other teams. They were all nervous but excited, each competitor lost in their own bubbling hopes and fears. Ethan tugged on her sleeve, his little face reflecting both anxiety and exhilaration. "Are they going to taste our cookies again, Mom?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. "Yes, they are, sweetheart," Ellie replied, forcing a smile. "Just remember what we talked about. It's about more than winning." As she spoke, her mind drifted back to Claude. His scornful words echoed in her head. But then she remembered the warmth of Mrs. Simmons' smile, and how the community had rallied around them. Ellie could feel that spark of determination mingling with every ounce of fear. The judge who had praised their cookies earlier took center stage again, and the chatter began to die down. Ellie took a deep breath, focusing on that moment. "We did our best," she thought. "That's what matters." Claude lingered nearby, clearly trying to gather support, but Ellie ignored him. She wasn't going to let his negativity seep into her spirit. Instead, she chose to soak in the surrounding joy, the laughter, the smile of Ethan, and the encouragement of her friends. "Ladies and gentlemen," the judge announced, "what a thrilling competition this has been. You have all put your heart into your baking today, and it shows. We've tasted cookies that melted in our mouths, and now it's time for us to make our final decisions." Ellie's heart raced. This was it. The culmination of all their hard work rested on these moments. She felt Ethan's hand squeeze hers tighter, both of them knowing they had done everything they could. The judge continued, "But before I announce the winners, I want to commend one team for their exceptional spirit." Ellie's breath hitched. Was it them? This team not only baked with skill but also with care for their community, the judge said, looking directly at them. Their chocolate-chip cookies did more than just taste good, they spoke volumes about connection and resilience. A wild surge of hope filled Ellie's chest. Could it be us? She thought, her heart fluttering. "Can we please have Ethan and Ellie from Table 4 come up here?" Ethan practically exploded with excitement, jumping up and down. Ellie felt her cheeks burn with surprise and pride as she grasped his hand. They walked toward the stage, hearts thumping in unison. Then the judge leaned in, with a grin that lit up the space. "Your cookies touched us, truly. You stood up for something bigger, and because of that, you've brought our community closer." Ellie's heart swelled as applause erupted around them. She looked at Ethan, whose eyes sparkled with disbelief and joy. And just as the moment began to settle in, Claude's voice sliced through the air, sharp and bitter. "But they didn't even win anything. It's just talk." A new wave of murmurs and whispers rolled through the crowd, a mix of support and skepticism. Ellie's high faded for a split second, uncertainty creeping in. The judge locked eyes with Claude, and Ellie could feel the collective holding of breath as silence took over. "It's not only about cookies, Claude, this is about heart. And they have plenty of it." The audience responded with a powerful cheer, pushing back against Claude's negativity. In that overwhelming moment, Ellie realized it wasn't just about winning a baking competition, it was about standing firm, forging connections, and redefining what mattered most. As the crowd's energy swelled, Ellie's thoughts raced. Claude might not accept their victory easily. But then, a spark ignited within her. Time and again, we can rise above, she reminded herself, looking down at Ethan, who was clapping loudly, caught up in the joy of the moment. "Mom!" Ethan blurted out. "We're going to win, right?" Ellie knelt, wrapping her arms around her son. "We already have, buddy. We've built something stronger than cookies." But as the judge prepared to announce the final results, the crowd waited in breathless anticipation. What would be the ultimate decision about their hard work? Would their moment of bravery truly be rewarded, or would they have to face Claude's bitterness again? The judge cleared his throat, and the crowd leaned in closer, a ripple of anticipation surging through the gathered masses. Ellie could feel her pulse quicken, each beat echoing the weight of their hard work and passion. She glanced at Ethan, who was biting his lip, a mix of hope and eagerness painting his little face. "Before I announce the official winners," the judge began, his tone deliberately slow, "I want to take a moment to celebrate the spirit of community that we have witnessed today." Ellie held her breath, the words hitting her like waves. Claude's earlier comment lurked in her mind, but the warmth of the crowd's applause helped push it away. The judge continued, "It is clear that so many of you have poured your hearts into not just baking, but into bringing your neighbors together. And that is worth celebrating." Cheers erupted from the crowd, voices intertwining, creating a beautiful tapestry of encouragement and connection. Ethan's grip tightened around her hand as the judge paused for effect. Ellie squeezed back, a silent promise that whatever happened next, they had already succeeded in their mission. She could almost hear the clanking of mixing bowls and the scent of warm cookies wafting through her memory, reminding her of late-night baking sessions and tales shared over dough. The judge raised his hands once more, silencing the crowd. "And with that in mind, I'm excited to announce the team that has truly embodied this spirit." Every eye in the place was now fixed on them, Ellie's heart pounding against her ribcage. The winners of this year's competition, who have not only created delightful cookies but have shown exceptional spirit and camaraderie, are. Ellie held her breath, the world narrowing into this moment. The energy in the air felt electric, crackling with expectation. "Ethan and Ellie from Table 4. Cheers erupted, drowning out the rest of the sentence as Ellie felt herself lifted, a tidal wave of emotions crashing over her. Ethan squealed, his joyous laughter ringing out as they stepped forward. Ellie's heart soared at the sight of the audience rising to their feet, clapping and shouting their support. This was their moment, their acknowledgement. As they approached the stage, Ellie stole a glance at Claude. His frown was unmistakable, and she sensed the bitterness radiating from him. Yet, this victory wasn't about him. It was about love, laughter, and a community that had fought alongside her. They were more than mere competitors, they had each other, and that made all the difference. Once on stage, the judge presented them with a golden trophy, glittering under the soft lights. Ellie's fingers brushed against the smooth surface and she felt tears prick at her eyes. She gazed down at Ethan, who was practically vibrating with happiness, his small face illuminated with pure bliss. "This moment belongs to us, buddy," she whispered. They shared a look filled with understanding. They had learned, grown, and triumphed together. Once the crowd quieted down, the judge added, "And remember, our true reward is what we create in our hearts." Ellie held the trophy close, repeating his words in her mind. As they stepped down from the stage, Claude cornered them. "You think this is a win?" he spat. "You may have gotten a trophy, but let us see how long that lasts. You're still nobodies." Ellie stood tall, pulling Ethan close. "We're not nobodies. We're a team. And this community, they see us." The strength of her words surprised even her. Just as Claude scoffed and turned away, something shifted in the air. The crowd was buzzing, watching the dynamic unfold. Muffled whispers traveled through the audience, people murmuring their support. Ellie felt a weight lift off her shoulders. They had fought battles today, not just in baking, but in standing up against criticism, reminding them of the importance of heart. As the event wound down, Ellie's thoughts wandered. Their success was just the beginning, but with Claude still lurking like a dark cloud above them, Ellie wondered what challenge awaited next. "Mom," Ethan tugged at her sleeve, his energy renewed, "are we going to bake more cookies for everyone? Let us show them what we can really do." A smile broke across Ellie's face, a spark igniting in her heart. "Absolutely. But let us make it even bigger this time." Could they transform their victory into something greater? The excitement and warmth of the crowd filled her with new determination. The real competition wasn't just in baking, it was about connection. And she was ready for whatever came next. As the sun set over Willow Creek, casting a golden glow on the town, Ellie stood outside the community center, clutching the golden trophy tightly in her hands. The local residents gathered around her, a sea of smiling faces. They had come to support her and her dream, and in that moment, she felt the weight of her victory not just as an individual but as a part of something so much bigger. "Your trophy is as bright as your smiles," shouted Mrs. Simmons, her eyes lighting up with pride. Ellie looked at the key players around her, the people who believed in her when all she felt was doubt. "This isn't just mine," she declared, her voice ringing with excitement. "This is our trophy. It represents every late night, every laugh, and all the heart we poured into not just baking but community." The crowd erupted in cheers, and somewhere in the front row, Ethan bounced on his feet, his excitement infectious. "Mom! Can we bake even more cookies now?" His pure enthusiasm was like a shot of adrenaline right through her heart. "Yes." Ellie laughed, a sound that felt rich with possibility. "Let us have a community bake night. We can turn this victory into something even greater." The crowd immediately buzzed with ideas, each person eager to contribute. Moments later, Mrs. Simmons spoke up, "I can set up the community center for weekly baking nights. Everyone can bring a favorite recipe. Count me in for decorations," piped up Mr. Wright, his voice radiating excitement. As they brainstormed, Ellie felt each friendly face envelop her in warmth. The bakery dreams hadn't died in a fire, they had risen anew, like dough in the oven. She was buzzing with dreams of the future, and for the first time in a long time, she felt strong and capable of leading this community forward. As the night wore on, Ellie began to realize how far they had come together. The divides that Harrington's polished facade represented didn't stand a chance against their unity. She could feel the joy spreading, like the sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies filling the room. Plans for the community bake night started to take shape, each step a brick in the foundation of this newfound dream. Little by little, she could envision the space becoming a welcoming hub, where everyone from neighbors to newcomers could come to share stories, laughter, and of course, baked goods that carried love in every bite. Amidst the chaos of joy, Ellie glanced at Claude, who stood aloof at the edge of the crowd. His disdain hadn't faded, but he was outnumbered. The warmth around her outshone his cold facade. "Ellie!" A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Ethan, his eyes wide and reflective. "Are you happy now?" "More than ever." She knelt to hug him close, her heart swelling with pride. "We won because of you. You reminded me to believe." He grinned, vibrant and pure. "Then let us keep baking forever." She chuckled, knowing that this wasn't just about baking, but about building a future filled with love and togetherness. As the evening drew to a close, they all stood hand in hand, united in purpose. The community baked not just for competition but for each other. Ellie felt a flicker of concern for what lay ahead with Claude, but then she remembered the spirit of those who stood beside her. They were ready to dissolve the bitter shadows that lingered. "Tomorrow," she whispered under her breath, "we declare our new beginning." The crowd's chatter gradually faded, but the echoes of determination remained, as sweet as the cookies they would bake together. With hearts hopeful, they created a bright circle of connection. Ellie felt that no matter the obstacles to come, together they could rise higher than ever. As she looked around, radiant smiles meeting her gaze, she took a deep breath of fresh air, savoring the unity and the journey ahead. This was more than a bake-off, it was the genesis of hope. And within it, they housed a spirit brighter than any trophy could ever illuminate. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss more inspiring stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like to fuel the algorithm. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your engagement means the world, and only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions. Let's keep this amazing journey going.